Welcome to the FiPL Farm Diaries, brought to you by the Yorkshire Dales National Park Authority. FiPL stands for Farming in Protected Landscapes, a programme funded by Defra that helps farmers and land managers in England's national parks and national landscapes access funding for projects supporting climate, nature, people and place. In each episode, we'll dig into a particular part of a project that's received FiPL funding. And while we focus on one theme at a time, every story is part of a much bigger picture, showing how these projects and people are working together to shape the future of farming in the Yorkshire Dales landscape. Join us as we meet the people making a difference and discover how farming in protected landscapes is delivering for the Dales, one story at a time.
Hello and welcome to the 5th episode of the FiPL Farm Diaries. This episode's all about practical habitat restoration. So we've got 3 interviews speaking to people who have been involved in putting small areas of land back to the way that they used to be, restoring them back to the previous state. So the first farmer that we're going to speak to is Stephen Rain. Stephen has restored a couple of ponds that were thought to be man-made back in the Roman times. So let's have a listen to what Stephen's got to say.
Yeah, my name's Stephen Rain. I farm at Garthnup Farm, Stainforth. Purchased this farm in 1998, and since that time we've been heavily involved in various schemes with a view to improving the land and farming in traditional old-fashioned farming practices, with emphasis on allowing the farm to breathe and looking at nature as being one of the most important parts of what we set out to do.
So Stephen, just tell us then, what was the FiPL grant that you applied for, and I suppose why did you apply for it?
We went to FiPL for the purpose of regenerating 3 historic ponds that over a number of years, well, many years, had become completely overgrown and had been taken over by rushes, and we believe that they would bring something to the farm if we did regenerate them, in the hope that obviously frogs, toads, newts, etc. would come back and we'd obviously benefit from the process of regenerating the ponds. FiPL seemed ideal. Spoke to the ladies at FiPL and discussed what we wanted to do and why we wanted to do it, and they came out, had a look, and yeah, the facility was provided. We obviously embarked on the regeneration of the ponds, and it's proved to be very, very successful. So I would say all round, yeah, it's gone really, really well from where we are. Yeah.
So when you say regenerate, Stephen, what did you actually end up doing?
Well, the ponds, all 3, there were 3 ponds in total. They were all man-made, historically man-made ponds, and we believe they were man-made in the Roman times. They were used for the purpose of storing fish. They were all naturally fed, but they had all been man-made. They'd become completely overgrown with rushes. And so what we had to do is we had to bring in machinery and basically dig all the rushes out, obviously being very careful not to damage the natural lining of the ponds. And we didn't really know. We had an idea what the ponds were going to look like, because obviously the outline of the ponds being man-made was there, but until we actually got in the process of digging them out, we didn't know how the ponds worked. We do now. And so, yeah, pretty much a trial and error. We just very carefully dug out the rushes, got to the natural outlines, and then we basically just stepped back and watched the ponds go back. And actually it was over a short space of time into a natural pond, fed naturally. The animals, frogs, toads and newts, very quickly came back. They were all here last summer. Lots of dragonflies and dams and flies, etc. So yeah, that's what we had to do.
So how was the actual process of applying for a FiPL grant, Stephen, for you, and what would you say to anybody else that was thinking about maybe doing it?
Well, we found the process really really easy, to be fair, because obviously the two ladies that were representative of FiPL, they were very, very helpful, and they came on a number of occasions, and we walked the farm and discussed the project. So yeah, from FiPL's side, yeah, it was all really well managed, to be fair. I've got no complaints there, and obviously, you know, it's always made easier if you're working alongside someone who's as enthusiastic with regards to the project as what you are. And they were very enthusiastic with regarding the project, and yeah, it made it worthwhile. It made it enjoyable. They came, obviously, they've been out since on a number of occasions to see the benefits of the FiPL investment, and yeah, found it really, really worthwhile.
So the second person that we're going to be speaking to in this episode is Ellen Milner. Ellen is the Haytime Project Manager at the Yorkshire Dales Millennium Trust. So she's been involved in working with farmers all across the Dales to restore hay meadows back to the way that they were.
Yep, I'm Ellen Milner. I'm the Haytime Project Manager at the Yorkshire Dales Millennium Trust, which is a charity based in Clapham between Settle and Ingleton. And they work to support the people, the landscape and the wildlife of the Yorkshire Dales and the surrounding area.
Right, Ellen, tell us what you applied for then with your FiPL bid, please.
Okay, so our application was to continue with our Haytime project. So the Haytime project has been running since 2006, so it's coming up to its 20th year next year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's allowed us to continue with that. So the project was initially started because there were dramatic declines in the extent of species rich grassland across the UK. So some of the estimates were that we'd lost 97% of our species rich grasslands since around the 1950s, the 1970s, so largely through agricultural intensification.
Mm-hmm.
And due to their uncertain future, the Haytime project was set up to actively restore and enhance meadows and give management advice so that we can maximise the biodiversity potential, protect their rural and cultural heritage, and allow people to enjoy them.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah, brilliant. So that's quite a big decline, isn't it? So you've mentioned, obviously, the importance of having hay meadows. How many farmers were involved in this project in total?
So over the whole project, so we've probably set around 800 hectares of meadows on the road to recovery since 2006.
Yeah.
But that's acknowledging that meadow restoration is a long-term process, and that initial input of works is just the start, and then it's about the year-on-year management that really gets the best out of them. But this year we worked with 8 different landowners. We focused on enhancement this year, so we were targeting particular meadow indicator species across 11 meadows, so just over 11 hectares.
Yeah, brilliant. So let's get into the nitty-gritty then. When you say you were targeting specific species, what did the money actually pay for, the FiPL grant?
Yep. So we found that even when we've restored meadows through moving seed around or green hay, certain species, it's really tricky to get them to come back, and they tend to be the later flowering species. So things like great bonnet, devil's bit scabious, the cranesbill, so wood cranesbill and meadow cranesbill.
Yep.
So the FiPL grant paid for the actual plants, so the plug plants. So these are plants that have been grown from seed. They're about a year old. And then, we get them in trays of around 80 plants. And that's what it's paid for. So altogether this year in the Yorkshire Dales area, we've planted over 7,000 plug plants. They won't all survive, and we're very aware of that. And we factor that in the numbers that we plant. But the idea is to just get those established in the meadow so that they can start to pollinate and set seed and build a population in the meadows.
Yeah, brilliant.
It's also given us the time to coordinate the projects, so make sure that process is as smooth as possible for the landowners and farmers, so we can guide them through the process and coordinate things. And we've also been developing some meadow management advice as well, so about what should happen at certain times of year, problem solving for anything that might come up. how important it is to have a survey, so you know what you've got at the start, so you've got a baseline.
Yes.
The importance of low nutrient conditions and how the most species-rich meadows have got the lowest nutrients. And also the importance of monitoring to see how your meadow's doing.
Yeah. So have the farmers actually planted the plug plants themselves, or was that something that...
Some of them, So we've had a whole variety of people involved in getting the plug plants in the ground.
Yeah.
We've had staff come out and help. We've had community groups. So we've had Malham Environment Group, we've had Sustainable Swaledale, we've had landowners themselves, we've had Long Preston Primary School come out. We've just had...
brilliant. But the kids love doing that.
People involved. They did love it, and they were fantastic planters, actually. Super speedy.
Brilliant. So in terms of the farmers that have been involved with this then, how had they decided which meadows to restore? Like, how had that affected their wider business? How had they thought about that?
Yeah, so I guess we tend to get farmers who start off with maybe one meadow, and it might be the field that's had the least fertilizer input over the years, perhaps because it's the most difficult one to access for modern machinery, that kind of thing. So they might start with one meadow, and we would go along, we would check what's already there in terms of the botanical species. We would do a nutrient test of the soil, and that would allow us to decide whether it's suitable for restoration, and develop the best method for restoration. And then, we'd go back and check, we'd monitor it, and often they'll come back and want to do another field and another field.
Yeah. When you say, so you mentioned before that the hay meadows need to be the low nutrient ones. Is there any in particular that need to be low? I'm guessing you're talking about PK.
So it tends to be the phosphorus,
right?
That's the most important. And we would need it to be between 0 and 1 when those soil tests come back. And I guess it sounds a bit counterintuitive you need really low nutrient conditions to get the best meadows. But I guess the best way to describe it is if you have high nutrients, you tend to get a small number of species that are really good at absorbing those nutrients. And those are the ones that dominate, and they tend to be the coarser grasses like cocksfoot or false oak grass. But if you create really low nutrient conditions, all of the species are having to compete, and they have different strategies. So some have deeper roots, some have shallow roots, some flower at different times. And by having those different strategies, it allows them all to kind of coexist at the same time.
I see. Okay, brilliant. So obviously you will have, some of those plants will take, and you'll have a diversity of species in terms of plants, but what other things have you seen since restoring some of these meadows?
So you tend to get a pattern of species that will come up. So as I mentioned earlier, it's a really long-term process. So the first year after restoration, we'd be looking to make sure the kind of key functional meadow species are present. So we'd want yellow rattle, meadow buttercup, red clover, sweet vernal grass, and common sorrel. Those are kind of building blocks. And then as the years go on, you'll start to get other species starting to come in, either that have come in the seed mix and they've just taken a few years to develop, plug plants that have come in and have just taken a little while to establish, or you might get things in the soil seed bank or coming in from other meadows nearby. So a kind of mature meadow that's maybe 10 plus years post restoration, you start to get some of those rarer species.
Brilliant. And you mentioned the various different rooting depths of these plants. So I'm guessing that this has a really positive effect on soil health over the long term as well.
Yeah. So we've also, as part of the FiPL grant, we've been doing some carbon analysis.
Okay.
So we've taken soil samples, slightly different process than taking it for the nutrients. And we're starting to take that for every meadow now that we restore, and we're developing a bank of data. And we hope to kind of track the carbon storage. And good for soil structure as well. Worms and things like that. We also have a worm monitoring program at certain sites.
Brilliant.
So we're trying to understand if worm populations become more diverse, or do we get higher worm numbers as meadows mature.
Brilliant. I'm guessing that'll take a while though, so you'll do your baseline and then go back a few years later.
At the moment, we've just got a small amount of data, but it's something that we're looking to the future to develop that database.
At least you've got a starting point as well, haven't you? You can see the changes. So in terms of nature and biodiversity then, there's got to be loads of benefits here.
Yeah, loads of benefits. Yeah, so the more species rich a meadow, the more invertebrates it will support. So bees, butterflies, beetles, and then you get small mammals and birds feeding on those invertebrates. You'll get birds nesting in the meadow, so things like curlew and lapwing. And then, as you go up the food web, you get predators, so bigger mammals and birds feeding on those. And it just a network of wildlife is supported by them.
Yeah, brilliant. So are you doing surveys on that side of things as well, like monitoring?
So we also have bee monitoring programme that we have across the Forest of Bowland and the Yorkshire Dales. So that's been going for 10 years. So we do monitor the bee populations at fixed sites.
Yeah, brilliant. Let's talk about the cultural value and the heritage of these hay meadows, because I can remember when I was a kid, I can remember seeing them back then. So it's not that long ago. I'm not that old, I don't think.
Yeah. So they're within living memory of the current generation. There's a lot of they're held really closely in people's hearts. There's a lot of folklore. There's a lot of rural and cultural heritage. The naming of meadows. Yeah, there's a lot of history tied up in them, and we want to keep that alive.
Yeah.
So. Connecting people with meadows, allowing them to appreciate them, the wildlife they support, the cultural heritage, in all kinds of different ways. We try to engage people in all different ways. So there's an annual celebration of meadows, National Meadows Day, which is the first weekend in July. So we always do something for that. And we have all other kinds of events, art events. We train up surveyors to do monitoring surveys for us. So we get a botanical trainer in. We just... Things like the field barns, they're also part of meadows and meadow heritage.
Yeah, brilliant. So just coming back from a working farm management point of view, when are people cutting these meadows?
So we would say a meadow is a grassland that is managed specifically to grow a hay crop to feed animals over the winter.
Yes.
So the kind of key things that would be shut up from the spring until... hay cutting times, mid-July onwards.
Yes, okay.
And having that kind of single cutting event, and then aftermath grazing and perhaps some grazing through to the spring before being shut up again. That's kind of that annual cycle.
Yeah.
So they're an entirely man-made habitat.
Yeah, and we've got a whole, not quite a whole episode, but we've got 2 interviews on 2 different curlew projects. So in terms of, as you said earlier, curlews nest in these meadows, don't they? So July is like ideal. Chicks will be hatched and up and out by then.
Yeah. So we'd say mid-July onwards. But some of those later flowering species that I mentioned, they haven't always set seed by that time. Yeah. So that's often why those species are more difficult to get going from seed.
Right, I see.
And we use plug plants.
Yeah.
Varying the cutting date as would have been done in the past, because it would have often taken weeks to cut the hay across a whole farm. Yeah. So that can often be of a benefit. Varying that cutting date a bit.
Yeah. And just coming back to the cultural and heritage side of things, the cultural side of things, when I was a kid, like hay time was a massive deal, and people used to come from neighbouring farms and everything to come and help us, and we used to have tea out in the field. And yes, it was a hard job, it was, but it was a good way of bringing the community together, that sort of hay time, and bringing in the little bales and everything. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So if, like, friends and relatives would come and help, people would come from towns just to get the hay in, and everybody would get stuck in together. There'd be hay time lunches out in the meadows. Yeah, definitely a hard job, and I think everyone was really relieved when it was over. Yeah. But a big team effort.
Yeah, big part of the community, wasn't it? So you said earlier that when some farmers start out with this, they might just do one meadow. What would you say to any farmer that was thinking about maybe doing this with some of their fields? Because it's catch-22, isn't it? You know, people have taken cuttings earlier and earlier for obvious reasons, to push food production. This could be quite a big step for some farmers to push, a field or a few fields back right into July. What would you, how would you sell it, I suppose, for want of a better way? What are the benefits to a working farm of doing this? Apart from everything that we've spoken about, is there anything that we've missed?
So I guess the best way to answer that would be to think about what some of the landowners that we work with have said.
Sure.
And having a more diverse meadow provides a more varied diet for your livestock. So it'll have all the minerals that they would need. I know that sheep are selective, if they need a particular thing, they will single out certain plants. So you're providing a more variety, more minerals, and I think that is a benefit for farmers.
Yeah. And obviously we've said about soil health and everything. And I suppose when you've got so much biodiversity and nature in one field, that can only benefit the surrounding fields as well in terms of insects and soil health and worms and moles and all the rest of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So at the moment, meadows might feel quite isolated, but ultimately the aim is to connect them up. And extend the areas of meadow that we've got, connect them up, and those benefits will spread into the surrounding areas. And the changes are noticeable. So in terms of the butterflies and things like that, our landowners note that they're much increased in numbers and different species when they have a species-rich meadow. And again, just thinking about the meadows of the past, and people will remember huge flocks of birds and meadows alive with coloured butterflies. We're getting a little snapshot of that when we restore meadows.
Brilliant. So what's next then for this project?
Well, we want to continue our Haytime project really. So there's lots more to do. We want to work with more landowners. So we've got a 3-year strategy where we have targets for the numbers of meadows that we want to restore. So by 2028, we want to have restored or enhanced 100 meadows. So we also work with community groups as well, acknowledging that those wildflower-rich spaces in more built-up areas are ideal stepping stones to these meadows that we've got out in the landscape. We want to work across Bowland, across Nidderdale, all working together. We want to provide landowners with that support to make sure that they can do this in the long term.
So the final farmer that we're going to speak to in this episode is Tom Boothman. So part of Tom's wider plan for his farm is to restore small areas of land back to nature. So he was also involved in restoring ponds, fencing around it and putting some trees in as well. So let's hear how Tom got on with that.
Hi, I'm Tom Boothman. I'm a hill livestock farmer in a beautiful part of the Yorkshire Dales around Grassington and Linton. All our farm is farmed under the higher level stewardship scheme. And as part of this, apart from the regenerative farming with the livestock, we're trying to put small areas of land back to nature, as we have with this pond.
So just tell us then, Tom, what did you apply for? What was it that you asked for the FiPL grant for?
We became aware of the FiPL grant through farmers' meetings with the Yorkshire Dales National Park Authority, and I thought it would fit the bill for us to recreate this wetland and series of ponds and surrounding area planted by trees.
So you did the ponds and you've put some trees in, and all the fencing, all the fenced off bit round, that was all included as well, was it?
Yes, part of the FiPL funding, they paid us to dig out and reform the ponds, clay line them, to plant all the trees and the associated fencing around it.
Yeah. So you've already said, Tom, that you farm in a regenerative way and you've got a lot of land, well, all of it under stewardship. Why is it important to you to recreate these habitats? Why was it important for you to do this project?
It's all part of what we're trying to do with the farm. We're trying to enhance the environment. Yes, we're still producing beef and lamb, but in a lot smaller numbers. We're trying to produce something good and something which is going to do the environment good as well.
So more of a niche project, which I suppose the Yorkshire Dales has almost got a USP in terms of that, haven't they, for the landscape? And
well, definitely. I don't think the beautiful places like the Yorkshire Dales are a place to be mass producing food, but there is still a place to produce really good, high quality food and care for the environment at the same time.
Yeah.
Which is what we're trying to create.
Yeah.
And putting small areas of less productive land back to nature is all part of that.
Yeah.
Planting of the trees and
and you've got it all fenced off here so the cattle can't get to it. And as you say, like, this isn't a productive bit of land, is it? So in terms of when you think about your farm production, you're not sacrificing much here, but I bet the benefits for the wildlife. What have you seen come back since you put the pond in?
It's been really interesting. Bar from the cheeky roe deer, which I hope they don't take too many trees. The ponds, by the side of the ponds, of course, we get a lot of mallard ducks, but we have a pair of the little white egrets, which we see quite often down here. There's also kingfishers on the beck, which is lovely to see in summer.
Brilliant, excellent. And I've no doubt you'll have frogs and newts and toads and all sorts, won't you?
Oh yes, during the summer months, there's plenty of frogs about and little voles running about in the long grass.
Yeah. It's just so important, isn't it, to, like you say, when you've got an area of land like this that you can just take out and it doesn't make a big impact to your farm, to restore these habitats, because aside from the nature, I would imagine this was pretty overgrown, was it, when you started the project?
It was, yes. It was full of rank grasses and rushes, which wasn't much of a habitat for anything, really.
Yeah.
Although there's no public footpaths or access through this pond area, through this wetland, the main footpath from Linton to Threshfield runs just 20 yards the other side of the beck here. And the amount of people who've mentioned it and got pleasure from seeing the wildlife on it, that's been good.
Yeah.
It's positive.
Yeah, it's so important, isn't it, with the parks? It's farmers play such a huge role in maintaining the landscape and the tourism that comes into the parks. It's a huge part of the economy, isn't it? And it's not just about making it look nice. It's about, I suppose, making people understand a bit better what should be there and what it should look like and why that's important. And I suppose when they come and see this absolutely teeming with wildlife, which I'm sure it is. I mean, it's winter now and the ducks have disappeared because I've got my camera out, but there were loads of them. I bet in summer there's all sorts.
There are, yeah. No, it is really good to see, and what a quite rare birds like the egrets. It's lovely to see those. First thing in the morning.
Yeah. And I suppose from people walking past your farm, Tom, you have to sell your beef somewhere. It's a good, they can see how you're farming regeneratively and the product that you're producing as well, I suppose.
Well, yes, we do have a niche market for the beef. It's sold through a local cutting plant down in Skipton, Swaledale Foods, and most of the beef goes to the high-end restaurants in London. So it's all positive, but it's all about working together, doing the right thing for the community, for the environment, for farming.
Yeah.
And the way we want to take farming forward.
Brilliant. And you're not the first farmer I've spoken to actually that's selling through Swaledale Meats. Do you ever have your restaurant owners and your chefs out onto farm? Do they do trips like that?
Fairly regular, to be
honest.
Do they?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's interesting. It's interesting to see people, from a different area and from a different background. And I'm sure running a restaurant in London is a million miles away from farming in the Yorkshire Dales. But
it will be, won't it? And it's really important when you're selling a niche product like that to be able to explain where it's come from, and they can't do that, can they, without physically seeing it? So that's fantastic that you're not only connecting people that come, the tourism in the Yorkshire Dales, but also the rest of the country to this, brilliant place that we should all be very proud of, I think. So
definitely.
Yeah. So just talk us through the process then of getting this pond back to how it looks now. Was it a big job? Presumably you had to dig it out? And
it was quite a big job. We had local contractors came to dig it all out. They came with some huge machinery, cranes and diggers. They took over 800 tons out.
Wow.
Which had to leave the site. And yes, they put all the clay in the bottom so it holds water. Then all the fencing, local contractors are going to do the fencing for us. And most of the trees we did plant ourselves.
Brilliant. So if you had your time again, Tom, would you do anything different? What were the key, anything that cropped up that you thought, oh, I wasn't expecting that when you were doing your project? Or was it fairly plain sailing?
I wouldn't say it was plain sailing. There were days when I wondered what had begun, but, you know, the final outcome was good.
Yeah.
So.
Brilliant. And let's just talk then about the actual process of getting a FiPL grant. You said you heard about it through some farmer meetings, did you?
Yes, yeah.
And what sort of support did you have from the national parks when you were sort of planning what you wanted to do and all that kind of thing?
They were very good. They came out, they explained it all with several meetings. We sat down and worked everything out in the order everything was going to happen.
Yeah.
Yes, I can't have enough thanks for the national park for the part they played in it.
Yeah.